At the peak of an intense business war, our main character stares down the woman across the table. He makes an insane decision. He is going to marry his arch-rival, Qin Yuwei. Since joining them is the ultimate move when you cannot beat them, he clears his throat to announce it. But the female lead just smirks playfully and agrees on one condition. They live at her house. Back at the table, Qin Yuwei slowly slides the contract over. Her bright red nails paired with that incredibly smug look. Honestly, watching her gloat like that makes him grit his teeth in pure annoyance. Today, she is wearing a sharp white suit with black lace underneath. Her collarbone and cleavage are visible, but hey, do not misunderstand. This is just strategic observation. His dad kicks him hard under the table, signaling him to finally drop his ultimate move. All right, ultimate move it is. He slowly starts spinning his pen. Staring into her cat-like eyes, he suddenly slams the pen onto the desk with a loud snap. Qin Yuwei, I am going to marry you, he declares. The entire conference room instantly freezes. You could literally hear a pin drop, and her dad looks like he just swallowed a whole toad. His own dad is even more dramatic, clutching his heart and collapsing right backward. Are you out of your mind? Qin Yuwei shrieks, her voice instantly jumping 8 octaves. He lazily crosses his legs, calmly stating that a marriage alliance means shared resources, which benefits everyone. But in his head, he is thinking, I just want to drag you home. I want to see how miserable you will be waking up to your worst enemy's face every day. But she is fast, immediately bringing up his past offenses. Like how he mocked her red dress last month and stuck a warning sign on her car last week. It read, "Watch out, female driver," but our boy does not even blink. He tells her it just means he noticed her early, a warning of love. But plot twist, the female lead actually smirks and agrees. This is wild. She has one condition though. They have to move into her place after the wedding. Our boy Lu Xiao agrees instantly. Why not? Sabotage time. But seeing his dad about to object? Lu Xiao quickly leans in and whispers to his dad to think about that 30% share of the mall. The old man's eyes instantly light up. He is ready to act. He loudly announces they are in love. Classic. How could we adults stop true love? Meanwhile, Qin Jianyei's face across the table turns completely green. Afterwards, Qin Yuwei corners him and drives her heel onto his foot. Ouch! She stomps hard, making him gasp. She grabs him tightly by the tie and warns him that she knows exactly what he's planning. He just smiles, leans in close, whispering in her ear. Behind her ear, a cute little mole. She blushes. He loves this reaction, but she calls him a creep and storms off. He loudly shouts after her to meet at the marriage registry at 9 tomorrow morning. "Remember the white dress," he yells. She doesn't even look back. Just a savage middle finger while he grins. That is when her assistant, wearing round glasses, jogs over to him, looking like a nervous college student. He asks if Lu Xiao knows their boss is actually a black belt in karate. His smile freezes. Total intelligence fail. The next day, our brave main character stands outside her mansion with his suitcase. The security guard looks at him like he is some kind of psycho butler. Taking his suitcase, the butler's mouth twitches as he says the young lady ordered him to make him use the servant's entrance. But RMC just smirks and pulls out his marriage certificate. Slapping it right onto the gate scanner, he tells them straight up, "Your young lady is my legal wife, so her husband is taking the front door." But then the alarm blares. Now this is crazy, she actually deleted his fingerprints. 5 minutes later, Qin Yuwei opens the door herself. She is wearing a silk robe, her hair still half wet. With water droplets still on her collarbone, he just grins and says, "Surprise, wifey!" Waving his champagne, he tells her he specially prepared it for their wedding night. But she just kicks his suitcase aside and tells him the guest room is at the very end of the second floor. She warns him to stay away from the master bedroom or she'll call the cops. Squeezing past her, he deliberately brushes her shoulder and says he has no interest in a flatboard anyway. Her eyes narrow, and the next second, a sharp pain shoots through his arm. This woman is actually pinching him with her nails. He tries to grab her hand to stop her. But she executes a flawless joint lock and pins him face first against the wall. His face is slammed right against the cold tiles. Is she a karate black belt? As he winces in pain, she whispers in his ear that it is actually judo. asking if he wants to test it more. Man, his intel was completely wrong. This isn't some delicate rich heiress. She is literally a female Bruce Lee. In the end, he limps his way to his room. Honestly, the guest room is pretty nice.
Except for the pepper spray on the nightstand with a note saying, "For Mr. Lu."
Happy wedding. He doesn't even hesitate, grabs a pen, and writes underneath, "Thanks, wifey. We will use this to spice things up tonight." After that, he sneaks into her bathroom, takes her most expensive lipstick, and writes in bold strokes right across the mirror, "Property of Mrs. Lu." Hearing that expensive lipstick scrape against the glass is absolute music to his ears. Next up is their first dinner. Sitting at opposite ends of the long dining table, they look like two gunslingers about to draw. Even the butler serving them has hands that are literally shaking. He casually asks if they are negotiating that West City project, deliberately making a loud scraping sound with his knife. Qin Yuwei's steak knife gleams under the light. He mentions hearing about their cash flow issues while taking a sip of wine.
Smiling smugly, he says, "No worries. Father-in-law offered to lend him $200 million.
He adds that her dad even asked if they want a boy or a girl. Clang! Qin Yuwei drops her fork, the tips of her ears turning completely red. That is definitely her weak spot. "Du Xiao," she says, putting down her napkin, with a gaze like absolute daggers, asking if he thinks these childish tricks will work. He stands up, walks right behind her, and whispers, but it sure gets your heart racing. He quickly brushes his finger against her neck, and yup, her pulse is skyrocketing. She suddenly stands up, and her knee accidentally slams straight into his groin. He groans, almost collapsing to his knees, while she smirks. She leans down, pats his face, and asks, "Oh dear hubby, why are you kneeling?" He immediately grabs her wrist and pulls her right into his chest. Her perfume instantly hits him, a rich and lingering scent of cedarwood. They are standing nose to nose, her eyelashes fluttering like butterfly wings. Lu Xiao whispers to Qin Yuwei that she is blushing, but instead of a cute reply, she literally slams her fist on his desk. Fast forward to 2 in the morning, Lu Xiao is dying of thirst, stumbling around the kitchen for some water. But then he notices the study light is on, with papers rustling inside, along with muffled sobbing. Quietly, he pushes the door open. And there she is, Qin Yuwei, curled up in her chair, looking absolutely exhausted. She is clumsily trying to clean a deep cut on her wrist with tweezers. With bloody files on the desk, she freezes like a cat caught doing something bad. She completely tenses up as Lu Xiao walks over to inspect the damage. The cut is pretty deep, but this rich heiress does not even know how to use a Band-Aid. She tries to hide it, but he holds her arm, grabs the tweezers, and sanitizes the wound. She gasps from the sharp sting, her nails digging right into his skin. Yet she stubbornly refuses to make a sound. But as he rumbles through the first aid kit, he finds hidden packs of ibuprofen and stomach meds, already mostly empty. He raises an eyebrow, asking if her stomach hurts, but she just turns away. He carefully patches her up with a Band-Aid, then quickly tidies the messy box. Honestly, this woman is a ruthless corporate beast, but a total amateur at life. He points at her screen, reminding her that the merger deadline is tomorrow. Why is she still working? But she just snaps the laptop shut and tells him to get out. He walks toward the door, but suddenly turns back, catching her completely off guard. He snatches the bloodstained papers, telling her he is keeping them. Consider it an early wedding gift. Annoyed, she lunges at him. They end up chasing each other around the room until he holds the files high above his head. She jumps up to grab them, and boom, she ends up completely hanging on to him. At this point, he realizes she is way lighter than expected, with an incredibly slender waist. She grits her teeth, and seriously, their posture right now is way too intimate. She quickly registers how close they are and instantly freezes. He stuffs the documents back into her hands, tells her to sleep, and heads out. But as he leaves, she mutters something that almost makes him trip over the doorway. No shot. Did the Ice Queen Qin Yuwei actually just say thank you? Back in his room, Lu Xiao cannot fall asleep at all. He keeps thinking about her tiny injured wrist and all those empty painkillers. So he pulls out his phone and shoots a quick text to her assistant, Bai Lu. asking if she has stomach issues, and Bai Lu replies instantly, chronic gastritis.
It is an old issue that flares up whenever she gets too stressed. She even threw up bile during a meeting last week.
He stares at the screen, feeling a sudden pang of worry. Is this woman made of iron or what? The next morning, the rich aroma of fresh coffee wakes him up. He finds Qin Yuwei in a sharp navy suit, brewing coffee in the kitchen. The morning light hits her beautiful profile as she makes a double espresso with no sugar. Leaning on the doorframe, he calls out her exact order, which he memorized from a magazine. She is totally stunned, but he just jokes that studying your opponent is basic survival. He snatches the coffee pot and intentionally dilutes her cup with a generous splash of warm milk, scolding her that drinking black coffee with a bad stomach is literally asking for trouble. She opens her mouth to argue, but ultimately, she just stays quiet. He silently sips the coffee she just handed him, trying to act cool. At the breakfast table, these two are basically back to acting like toddlers. Fighting over bacon and roasting each other's cooking skills, classic bickering couple energy. But the moment she turns to grab her bag, he sneaks a spoonful of honey into her cup. Then he spots a sticky note sticking out of the folder she left behind. It says 3 p.m., appointment with Wei Jin, don't be late. Our boy Lu just grins. Looks like this newlywed life is getting pretty interesting. But during a massive brainstorming session in the meeting room, things take a turn. His secretary bursts in, face completely pale, yelling that the audit bureau is outside. Lu freezes mid-sip as officers in uniforms push right past the door. They flash their badges, accusing the company of tax fraud. Lu stares at the official notice, his head absolutely throbbing with rage. Who the hell ratted them out? Poor Lao Wang from finance is sweating buckets. Turns out last week's supplier had a fake license, making him slam his fist down. Coffee splashes everywhere as he orders an immediate freeze on all payments. Right then, his phone vibrates with a text from his new wife, Qin Yuwei. She asks if his company is getting raided, so he dials her back instantly. She mocks him, asking if this is how President Lu begs for help. Beg you? He just scoffs at her teasing tone. If he goes down, tomorrow's headline is about the Qin family's son-in-law committing fraud. He asks whose stock will crash first, leaving her completely silent on the line. Finally, she tells him to stay put. Exactly 1 hour later, the door flies open and Qin Yuwei struts in on 10-centimeter heels. She slams a thick file on his desk, the registration info of that fake supplier. She's totally out of breath, meaning she actually ran all the way up here. The mastermind behind the shell company is Zhao Jingshan, the notorious old fox of the Zhao group. Qin Yuwei nods. As she nods, her messy hair clings to her neck, smelling of her familiar perfume, mixed with a hint of sweat. Now this is getting extremely interesting, guys. Zhao is playing nice to his face while stabbing him in the back. Suddenly, Qin Yuwei reaches out and gently presses her cold fingers against his temples. It instantly soothes his headache. She whispers that his eyes are completely bloodshot. Lu freezes. Wait, is this Ice Queen actually showing concern for him? She pulls her hand back like she got shocked, instantly reverting to her cold self. She claims she just doesn't want him dying in her house, but he teases back. He grins and quickly changes the subject before she can snap at him. Why is Zhao Jingshan targeting him now? She adjusts her cuffs. Because Lu snatched the overseas agency rights last week, even though it was fair. Wait a second, how does she even know all of these details? She walks away, saying she's just smarter, and claims the study for tonight. She warns him not to bother her as the door shuts. Lu stares at the documents in absolute disbelief. This woman is wild. She literally did a deep dive on his rivals beforehand. What is her game? The audit team finally leaves at 8 p.m., leaving him completely exhausted. He returns to a pitch-black house where only the study light is still shining. Lu Xiao sneaks upstairs, only to overhear Qin Yuwei whispering in a hushed voice. She is on the phone, telling Director Zhang that this entire case is clearly rigged. She knows the official procedures, but insists she is not trying to plead for him. He presses his ear against the door, realizing she is actually pulling strings to help him out. She even admits that while Lu Xiao is a total jerk, his company's books are completely clean. But then the door flies open and he almost faceplants straight into her chest. He smirks and tells her to keep going with the bastard part. Her ears turn bright red as she slams the phone down, accusing him of eavesdropping in his own home. He pushes his way inside the study and spots her laptop screen right away. It is literally displaying his company's financial data. Wait, did she actually hack their system?
She slams the laptop shut in a panic, claiming she was only double-checking some numbers. His eyes scan the desk and land on an open notebook lying right there. It is packed with handwritten notes tracking every single transaction his company made over the last 3 years. Every potential audit red flag is meticulously highlighted, prompting him to pick up the book and call her name. He asks if she stayed up all night just for him while she desperately lunges to grab it back. He holds it high, out of reach, and honestly, her jumping around like an angry kitten is kind of adorable. But then they lose their balance, tumbling down together and crashing right onto the sofa. She ends up pinned right on top of him, close enough for him to catch the sweet scent of her peach lip balm. He can literally count the tiny freckles on her face before the notebook slips and hits the floor. They both dive to grab it at the exact same moment, resulting in a loud headbutt. She clutches her forehead, whining if his skull is made of steel, while he just rubs his own head. He scoops up the notebook and notices a phone number written on the very last page. It is labeled as the bureau chief's private line, with a tiny heart drawn right next to it. He points at the heart, teasing her about it, but she quickly snaps that it is just a special highlight marker. She snatches the notebook away and shoves him out of the room. Leaning against the wall, he can't help but laugh. Her blushing face is actually pretty cute. By 1 a.m., he still cannot sleep, so he heads out to the balcony for a quick smoke. To his surprise, Qin Yuwei is already out there, looking stunning in a silk robe. She is leaning against the railing, casually holding a glass of whiskey. She waves her cigarette, asking for a light, and he silently passes over a lighter. As she catches it, he playfully asks if that lighter is some kind of keepsake from a lover. She takes a sip of her drink, casually mentioning it was a graduation gift from her ex-boyfriend. This woman actually has an ex? Talk about an unexpected blow to his ego. He quickly changes the subject, asking how things are going with the audit bureau. She swirls her glass, coldly stating she simply does not want to get dragged down with him. They fall silent as the night wind blows, until she warns him that Zhao Jingshan will not stop here. The villain wants way more than just the agency rights. He is after that prime northern land plot. And Lu Xiao's family company holds the absolute key piece to the puzzle. It all clicks now. The villain is trying to ruin him first to buy the land cheap. Under the moonlight, he notices something on the exposed skin near her collarbone. There's a faint scar running across it, and he instinctively reaches out his hand toward her. She instantly pulls her collar tight, quickly brushing it off as a clumsy shower accident. Yeah, right, that is clearly a surgical scar, but he drops it, announcing he is confronting Zhao Jingshan tomorrow. She calls him crazy, but he just grins, suggesting they go together like a power couple. She rolls her eyes at his cheesy line, clearly exhausted by his antics. She hands him a wine glass to give him some liquid courage, and there is a faint lipstick mark on the rim. Lu Xiao intentionally rotates the glass to her mark and takes a sip, feeling it slide down his throat. It tastes sweet, carrying her signature peach lip balm flavor as he stares directly at her lips. Her breathing hitches completely, and just when he cannot resist leaning in closer to her, she suddenly drops a reality check, softly reminding him that they both know this marriage is completely fake. Ouch! His chest feels pricked by a needle. He immediately steps back. Of course, she says, it is just a business alliance, wishing him good night and shoving the glass over. She leaves. He stands completely alone on the balcony. The whiskey suddenly tastes incredibly bitter, but by the next morning, it is strictly business. In Zhao Jingshan's office, Lu Xiao and Qin Yuwei completely lay their cards on the table. Qin Yuwei is in full boss mode, tearing Zhao Jingshan apart in seconds until he is dripping with cold sweat. Stepping out of the building, the brutal exhaustion of pulling an all-nighter finally hits him. He stumbles, his legs completely give out. Qin Yuwei catches him, asking if he was up until 4 a.m. sorting files.
He rubs his temples, leaning against the car headrest as heavy sleepiness washes over him. In a total haze, he feels a gentle hand brushing the hair away from his forehead.
Then something soft presses against his skin, and by the time he blinks his eyes open,
Qin Yuwei is already sitting perfectly upright, pretending to be deeply focused on her files. "You have a fever," she says coldly, warning him not to pass it to her. He touches his forehead. Yeah, definitely hot. But his racing heart is burning even hotter. Did she seriously just low-key steal a kiss? Back at the office, Qin Yuwei literally forces him onto the couch to rest, even threatening him with a wild rumor. If he dares to work, she will tell everyone that he wears Pikachu underwear. "How did you even know that?" he blurts out, instantly shutting his mouth to avoid further damage. She smugly waves her phone, bragging that his family housekeeper is actually best friends with her. Wrapped up in a blanket, he just watches her take over his entire office, bossing his secretary around with the warm afternoon sunlight catching her frame. She looks as elegant as a swan, and on impulse, he asks if he can buy her dinner tonight. Just to thank her, and after a brief pause, she actually agrees. She immediately demands 82 Lafitte, making him realize selling himself probably would not even cover that. "Then sell your body instead," she says, turning to walk out the door. "Mrs. Lu gets the priority buying rights," she teases, closing the door behind her. He buries his face in the blanket. Damn, when did this woman learn how to tease him back? The blanket is covered in her perfume, and honestly, he takes a deep breath like a total simp. He waits at the restaurant from 7 until 8, but she never shows up. She is not there. Her phone is completely dead. He asks Bai Lu, who has no clue either, and just as he's about to call the cops, a strange number suddenly calls. On the other line, a trembling female voice asks if this is President Lu.
She stammers that she is the driver, and they have been in a terrible crash.
His entire world freezes instantly, and he ends up running 3 red lights to get there. The screeching of his tires almost tears his eardrums apart as he drifts to a stop. At the emergency room door, her driver is standing there with gauze taped to her forehead. Her shirt is soaked in blood, but that is not her blood. Where is Qin Yuwei? He grabs the driver by the shoulders, his voice cracking so hard it barely sounds like him. Her lips tremble as she explains that when the truck hit, Qin Yuwei forced her to steer to safety first. Lu dashes straight to the emergency room, staring desperately through the tiny glass window. Inside, he can only see doctors in white coats and cold, unfeeling machines surrounding Qin Yuwei. That Chanel ribbon he used to mock is now covered in blood and shattered glass.
It lies discarded in a metal tray, making his stomach twist in sharp pain.
He has to lean against the wall to stand. The woman who bickered with him just this morning.
She is inside, clinging to life. A sudden consent form appears.
He takes the pen, but his hand is shaking too hard to even write his name. What's the damage? A ruptured spleen, broken ribs, and a severe open fracture on a right leg. Immediate surgery is needed. Lu signs and grabs the nurse. Use the best medicine. Get the absolute best specialists in the country. Money is no object. The nurse tries to calm him. "Sir, we will do our best." The operating room's red light flickers on, glaring back like a bloodshot eye. He collapses, his phone slipping out. The screen still shows Qin Yuwei's text from yesterday. Restaurant booked for 7.
If you're a minute late, you're dead. He stares at it until the screen fades black.
His assistant, Bai Lu, rushes in, finding Lu pacing like a trapped beast. Seeing his bloodshot eyes, she tries to comfort him. Sister Yuwei is going to be okay. He takes the coffee she offers. The scalding hot liquid splashes right onto his hand. But he does not feel a single thing. It is 3 a.m. The red surgery light finally shuts off, and the doctor steps out, removing his mask. The surgery was a success, but she is not out of the woods. She needs 48 hours of ICU observation. Lu's knees buckle, nearly sending him straight to the floor. The doctor adds another question. Does she have an old scar on her chest? It looks like an old burn from a major, complicated surgery. Lu freezes in shock. A burn? She never mentioned it. Talk about a massive plot twist.
Through the glass, he sees Qin Yuwei lying motionless amidst a web of tubes.
She is pale as paper. The proud, arrogant heiress is now completely broken. She looks like a fragile porcelain doll. He presses his forehead against the freezing glass. His mind flooded with memories of her playfully stealing his bacon just this morning. President Lu, you should go get some rest, Bai Lu gently advises him. He just drags a chair right in front of the window. I am not going anywhere. At dawn, the nurse finally allows him inside for a brief 5-minute visit. Clad in sterile scrubs, he walks to her bedside and gently takes her hand. It is ice cold. He cups it in both of his, trying to share his warmth. Qin Yuwei, he whispers, if you dare die, I will donate every single one of your limited edition bags. Suddenly, her finger gives a tiny, barely noticeable twitch right against his palm. He holds his breath, and yup, her hand is moving. Man, this emotional payoff hits hard. Another weak, tiny flutter follows. Instantly, his vision blurs with hot tears. Pressing his face against the back of her hand, he finally realizes the truth. To hell with the business marriage and family feuds. None of it matters compared to her opening her eyes and calling him a bastard again. After the nurse gently ushers him out, he splashes cold water on his face. The man in the mirror is a total, messy wreck. Ripping off his tie, Lu Xiao looks like a total hobo. Suddenly, his wallet drops, and an old photo slips out. Turns out it fell from Yuei's wallet, showing 2 kids on a swing. The little punk wearing a Spider-Man tee, smearing ice cream on her face?
That is actually Lu Xiao, and the cute girl in the pink dress
is absolutely childhood Qin Yuwei with sweet handwriting on the back. It says they are best friends forever, sending memories flooding back. Back when he was 8, his dad sent him to a countryside mansion. That is where he met her, right before a tragic house fire broke out. She literally dragged him out of the smoke, before Bai Lu interrupts his thoughts. The traffic cops found that the truck's brake lines were deliberately sabotaged. He snaps his head up. This was straight up murder. But get this. Bai Lu whispers that the tampered brake fluid batch number matches a shipment from the main culprit's group. Lu Xiao carefully hides the photo. This villain Zhao Jingshan does not just want the company, he wants Yuwei dead. By the 3rd morning, Qin Yuwei gets moved to a regular ward. Having not slept for 48 hours, the nurses almost block him, thinking he's homeless. He finally gets inside, and there she is, resting against the pillows. The morning light hits her pale face, making her look almost fragile. Still alive, huh? He asks, trying to keep the vibe light. She rolls her eyes weakly and asks if he's disappointed. She snaps back, asking how he would like getting hit by a truck. Still sassy as ever, which honestly just makes him laugh with relief. But the tears start coming, so he quickly looks down to fix her blanket. He tells her the truck brakes were sabotaged and the police are on it. She suddenly grabs his hand, asking if it is someone he pissed off. It is our shared enemy, Zhao Jingshan, he says, holding her hand as she winces. The pain is too much, so the medical staff rushes in with a painkiller. She quickly drifts off to sleep, but she is still whispering Lu Xiao's name. Then she mumbles, asking if he saw the photo, making his heart skip. When he says yes, she seems both relieved and a little sad. Mumbling softly, she asks if their childhood swing is still there. Man, nobody has called him that in over 10 years, since that tragic fire night. Even covered in bandages, she smiled and told him not to cry. She said she was fine, but now the nurse tells him to leave. He tries to pull away, but she suddenly grips his hand tight, begging him to stay. Hearing her whisper that she is scared of the dark completely breaks his heart. Late at night, Yuwei thrashes in another nightmare, screaming about a fire. She cries out for him, and Lu Xiao holds her hand, promising he is right there. She finally calms down, though tears are still wet on her eyelashes. And then boom, he leans down and gently kisses her tears away. Suddenly, she wakes up half-dazed and tells him he smells absolutely terrible. He literally bursts out laughing. She just woke up and is already roasting him. She mutters that he never wears cologne, adding another jab before drifting off. He is completely stunned. She actually remembered such a tiny detail. He falls asleep right by her bedside. Half awake, he suddenly feels a soft hand gently brushing his hair. Suddenly, a feather-light kiss lands softly on his forehead, waking him up in an instant. But she is faking it, her trembling eyelashes totally giving her away. He hoarsely asks if she is pretending to sleep, so she peeks one eye open and blames his loud snoring. Rubbing his sore neck, he sits up. Lu Xiao asks why she never told him they knew each other as kids.
Her face completely freezes as he asks where she was sent after that fateful fire.
Why did they never meet again? She simply turns away and whispers his name. She tells him some secrets are better left untouched, but right then, Bai Lu bursts in. Her assistant reports they finally found the villain's office, but freezes upon seeing Qin Yuwei awake.
Qin Yuwei calmly demands her phone.
The screen shows an old photo of a younger Xiao Jingshan. And get this, he is locking arms with none other than Lu Xiao's own father-in-law. Qin Yuwei turns absolutely pale. Turns out they were development partners 20 years ago, and to clear the land for demolition, a deliberate fire was set to kill innocent residents, leaving Lu Xiao absolutely shattered. That was their childhood fire.
Qin Yuwei's father pinned the entire blame on Xiao Jingshan, sending him away for 10 years.
Tears stream down her face as she confesses she always knew the dark truth. She was basically an accomplice. His chest tightens in absolute pain. Choked with tears, she begs for a divorce, calling their entire marriage a huge mistake. Lu Xiao instantly stands up. He leans right over her pillow, asking who it was that secretly kissed him last night. Blushing red, she desperately stammers that she didn't do it. Cutting her off, he speaks with a deep gentleness he didn't even know he had. Are they really going to let 20 years of lies keep ruining them? As her heart monitor spikes to 120, he slowly leans in, asking her out. She asks him to start over, her breathing growing heavy under his intense gaze.
Just as their lips are about to lock, the hospital door is slammed wide open.
Qin Jianyei's booming voice echoes through the room, crying out for his precious daughter. Standing at the doorway is his father-in-law, followed by Lu Xiao's father with a tense expression. The two fathers scan the room, their eyes darting back and forth between the couple. The atmosphere completely freezes as Lu Xiao's father slowly steps forward to speak. He admits it is finally time to lay all their cards on the table. That confession drops like a total bomb, and Qin Jianyei turns to face his old partner. Looking like he aged 10 years in a second, he tells Lu's dad they can't hide it anymore. Lu's father grimly asks if they remember that fire 20 years ago. He drops a massive truth bomb, stating that the tragedy was absolutely not an accident. Qin Yuwei gasps as the truth lands. It was deliberate arson.
She takes a sharp breath, sending her heart monitor into a wild beeping frenzy.
With a tight throat, Lu Xiao asks who did it, and Qin Jianyei hands over a yellowed photo.
It shows a younger version of him and Xiao Jingshan arguing right in front of the raging flames.
In a hoarse, shaky voice, he reveals the dark secrets behind that old demolition. Out of those 7 stubborn holdouts, 1 belongs to Lu Xiao's biological parents. Lu Xiao's mind instantly goes completely blank. Wait, what biological parents? His dad grips his shoulder tightly, dropping the bombshell that Lu Xiao isn't his biological son. On the night of that tragic fire, his real mother threw him out of a window.
She didn't make it out, but when his adoptive dad arrived, he was in Qin Yuwei's arms.
Just sobbing his heart out while his entire world spun completely out of control. Over 20 years of his life was built on a lie, and he demands to know why. His voice sounds unrecognizable as his adoptive father quietly responds that it was all to protect him. Qin Yuwei struggles to sit up, staring directly at her own father, asking if he was involved. Qin Jianyei collapses into his chair, burying his face in his hands in absolute shame. He admits he knew about it, but Xiao Jingshan set the fire, and he actually reported him. But the lack of evidence allowed Xiao Jingshan to turn around and counter-accuse him. Everything suddenly clicks. That business trip his dad took when Lu Xiao was only 8 years old was actually a secret investigation into the fire, explaining all these years of relentless corporate warfare. It was all Xiao Jingshan pulling the strings. His dad sneers. The villain wanted them to destroy each other. Qin Yuwei looks betrayed. He knew the truth, but still let her target the Lu family. She throws her pillow at him in pure rage, her tears spilling over like a broken dam. Lu Xiao instinctively pulls her close as she shakes like a fragile leaf in the autumn wind. He warns Qin Jianyei not to touch her, slapping his hand away with a chillingly cold voice. When Lu Xiao asks if the car accident was also his doing, his dad produces a secret file. Xiao Jingshan already grabbed 15% of Qin's shares and is now after the Alliance land.
That exact piece of land they saved. What on earth is hidden under it? Qin Yuwei looks up from his chest, her eyes suddenly turning incredibly sharp and focused.
The two fathers exchange a heavy look before Qin Jianye slowly reveals the truth.
Under that ground lies the physical evidence proving Zhao Jingshan was the actual mastermind behind the fire. That explains everything. Zhao Jingshan orchestrated that brutal car accident just to bury the truth forever.
He is desperately trying to destroy the evidence. But right at that very moment, a screaming fire alarm suddenly echoes across the hospital. There is a fire on the 7th floor.
Let me tell you, this timing is too perfect to be some random accident.
Lu Xiao immediately scoops Qin Yuwei up, feeling terribly pained by how light she is. The corridor turns into absolute chaos as thick black smoke starts pouring from the elevator shaft.
That suffocating, burning smell instantly drags him back to his terrible nightmare 20 years ago.
With the fire burning below them, they are forced to make a run for the rooftop. Icy wind and rain slash across their faces as Lu Xiao gently sets Qin Yuwei down.
He wraps his jacket around her, but Qin Yuwei suddenly gasps and tells him to look.
She grabs him, pointing out a suspicious glint coming from the rooftop of the building opposite them. It is a sniper scope, and a split second later, a bright laser cuts through the rain. It lands right at his father-in-law's feet. Yes, we have got an actual sniper here, guys! Lu Xiao tackles Qin Yuwei, screaming for everyone to get down as the laser dances around them.
Seconds later, a massive LED screen on the opposite building suddenly flickers to life.
Blood-red text flashes across the screen, warning them that memories will consume them like flames. He is trying to terrify them into stopping, and Qin Yuwei grips Lu Xiao's arm desperately,
telling them to drop the case as cold rain drops from her hair. This exact moment instantly triggers a memory of 20 years ago when she held him just like this.
Completely drenched, promising little Lu Xiao that she would always protect him. No, Lu Xiao wipes the rain from her face. This time, they are fighting back together. Back in the hospital room, Bailu already tracked down the security footage. They spot a suspicious figure with a mini-truck model hanging from his waist. It is a souvenir from the hit-and-run company. Qin Yuwei sneers, and then Lu Xiao's dad gets a call. His face pales. Zhao Jingshan just called an emergency Lin Group board meeting. He is trying to remove 3 Lin Group directors. Suddenly, Bailu shouts. She found the registration emails for the shell companies he used to buy shares. It is Yuei's backup email from high school. Hearing this, Qin Yuwei looks absolutely devastated.
Her dad stumbles as Lu Xiao sneers. Zhao Jingshan wants more than just the company. Talk about a true villain. He wants to tear this father and daughter apart. Lu Xiao pries open Yui's clenched fists.
Interlocking his fingers with hers, he tells her they must join forces right now.
They need evidence that will destroy him for good.
Soon, the crowd leaves. Only the 2 of them remain in the room. Yuwei softly calls out to Lu Xiao. She asks if he remembers their first meeting. Lu Xiao pulls out their childhood photo. She shakes her head, saying it was even earlier than that photo.
Smiling, she says it was at the orphanage when he was 6 and she was 5. He had thrown her doll into a muddy puddle just to steal the swing.
Lu Xiao's eyes widen. That little crybaby was her? But he actually dried the doll for her later.
He returned it. She gently rubs the photo, admitting that since that day, she thought he was a total pest. She turns her face away, blushing.
Her ears are burning red. Lu Xiao leans in, asking why she saved him. That night, you risked your life just to drag me out, she says, turning her head back. Their noses almost touch as her warm breath brushes against his lips. You promised to make me your bride. Suddenly, the floodgates of his memory burst open. When he was 8 years old, he had made a solemn promise. To that little girl with pigtails, Yuei, will you marry me when we grow up? He promised her a lifetime of ice cream. Lu Xiao swallows hard, his throat tightening. She looks into his eyes, admitting this marriage was a conspiracy to get revenge on his family. But from the very first moment she saw him, the heart monitor's beeping suddenly sounds deafening. Qin Yuwei whispers, asking if he will propose to her again when this is over. Her eyelashes flutter like a butterfly in the wind as she demands a pink diamond ring. And he has to wear a Spider-Man suit. Then she literally kisses him out of nowhere. It is as light as a feather, but it sends a massive jolt straight through his body. It is a deal, Xiao. Outside, the evening sun finally breaks through the heavy clouds. Bathing them in golden light, 20 years of lies and hatred seem to melt away. Everything becomes crystal clear, but get this, the real battle is just starting. The real battle has only just begun. 3 days have passed, and at the southern plot, they literally turned the entire place upside down, but they still found absolutely nothing. Look at it again. Qin Yuwei taps her crutch hard against the map. She is built different, charging back onto the battlefield in heels with a broken leg.
Seeing the faint scar on her temple, Lu Xiao suddenly snatches her crutch away.
He tells her she needs to act like an injured patient. She glares right back. She reaches out to grab it, but Lu Xiao just holds the crutch high up. She ends up tumbling straight into his chest. Blushing, she demands it back as he teases her. He laughs, but Bai Lu righteously interrupts them, asking if the detector has picked up anything. Both Lu and Qin Yuwei shout in unison that there is a metal safe 3 meters underground. But just as the excavator starts roaring, the villain Zhao Jingshan calls right on cue. This guy fake politely asks President Lu if he's out there digging for treasure. Lu puts him on speakerphone, replying that President Zhao sure gets news fast.
Zhao pretends to sigh, warning him that the land's paperwork is incomplete and inspectors are already on their way.
Sure enough, 10 minutes later, 3 official cars pull up and a bald guy orders them to stop digging immediately. With only 2 meters left to go, Lu is absolutely losing his mind here. But wait, Qin Yuwei flashes a perfect business smile and hobbles forward on her crutches to greet Section Chief Li. She physically sways as if she is about to fall right into his arms. The chief quickly catches her, and she leans weakly against his shoulder like she's about to faint.
Honestly, her acting is top-tier damsel in distress. But hey, this land is too important to lose.
Lu just stands there dumbfounded by her masterclass acting, and then she pulls a literal magic trick. She pulls a card right out of her collar and slips it smoothly into the chief's pocket. Once the inspectors finally leave, Lu pulls her aside, demanding to know what she just gave him. "Hotel buffet vouchers," she says with a mischievous little giggle. The $380 per person kind. Lu can't help but pinch her cheek. Seriously, how many more hidden talents does this girl have up her sleeve? Finally, they dig up the rusty safe. It even has burn marks all over it as sparks fly from the angle grinder slicing it open. Right then, the villain Zhao Jingshan calls back to mock them, asking if they found their little toy. He hopes they enjoy his surprise, and then the safe pops open. Inside is an old cassette tape. It is a contract signed by Zhao Jingshan and her father, Qin Zhenye. The label reads, North City Project, 3 days before the fire. Bai Lu quickly brings a vintage player. On the tape, Zhao Jingshan's voice sounds terrifyingly sinister, demanding to get rid of those holdouts. Then comes her father's voice, arguing they only agreed to scare them. Zhao Jingshan snaps back, calling him weak and promising to set the fire late at night when nobody is around. But suddenly, a harsh screeching noise cuts in. The tape has been edited. The critical part is missing. Lu frowns and turns to Bai Lu. Suddenly, Bai Lu points to the back of the contract, where they spot some faint writing in pencil. The backup is in M's music box. Lu looks at Yuwei. Her eyes go wide as she whispers her mother's name, Mu Wan, before they rush to the old family estate. The setting sun paints the old villa in a bloody red light as they search the dusty attic. Sure enough, they find an old wind-up music box hidden inside a toy chest. Deep inside a secret compartment, Lu finds another microcassette tape. What they hear next leaves Qin Yuwei completely devastated. It's Zhao ordering gasoline to be poured on the stairs. He commands to strike at 3 a.m., but warns them to make sure the Lu family kid isn't inside. Her father replies that Lu Xiao will be safe at his house. He warns Zhao that if anything happens to little Yuwei, he will make him pay. She looks up, lost. Lu kneels beside her. Gently holding her freezing hand, he reminds her of the night they snuck out to catch fireflies. That innocent mistake saved their lives because Zhao Jingshan wanted to burn her alive. He realizes Zhao wanted him dead too. Suddenly, Yuwei's phone starts ringing. Her face turns completely pale as she learns Zhao Jingshan has just launched a hostile takeover of her family company. They burst into the boardroom of the Qi mansion, and it's absolute chaos. Zhao's lawyer is shouting that his client holds 37% of shares and can restructure the board. Qin Yuwei walks straight to the projector and plugs in a voice recording pen. Suddenly, Zhao Jingshan's younger, ruthless voice starts echoing throughout the entire room. His face turns pale in an instant as he slams the table and yells that it's fake. Lu Xiao casually pulls open the blinds, showing police lights flashing down below. Whether it's forged is for the police to decide, and did he really think that was all? Zhao Jingshan just sneers and throws down a share transfer agreement on the table. The signer is Lu Xiao's dad, Lu Zhenbang, who sold all his shares of the Lu Group to him. Hearing this, Lu Xiao is completely stunned. Why would his dad actually sell his shares? Just then, Lu Zhenbang walks in with a serious face.
But I have one condition, Zhenbang says, looking straight at Zhao Jishan.
Every single transaction must be approved by my son. Zhao Jingshan's smug smile freezes instantly.
Shenbang points to the fine print in the corner. It requires Lu Xiao's written confirmation.
Oh, the dad played him beautifully. Lu Xiao steps up, accusing Zhao of attempted murder.
Plus commercial fraud, which is enough to lock him up forever. Suddenly, the police rush inside. Zhao Jingshan suddenly snaps, grabbing a heavy crystal ashtray and throwing it right at Qin Yuwei. Lu Xiao instinctively dives to shield her, letting the flying glass shards slash his forehead. Blood pours into his eyes, but through the blur he sees her absolutely terrified face. He just grins. You blocked a fire for me when we were kids, now we are even. Even while being handcuffed, Zhao Jingsan screams out, asking if they really think they won. That person will never let you off. Lu Xiao demands to know who, but Zhao only sneers. That chilling warning makes Lu Xiao's blood run cold once the boardroom finally quiets down. His dad finally decides to reveal the ultimate truth about that fire 20 years ago. Lu Xiao's real parents did not actually die in that tragedy. Qin Jianye speaks up too. With a complicated look, he reveals Mu Wan, Wei Wei's late mother, brought Lu Xiao home. She adopted him from the orphanage. Hearing this, Qin Yuwei suddenly stands up in shock. 3 months before the tragedy, Mu Wan was diagnosed with terminal liver cancer. Qin Jianye chokes up, explaining she knew Wei Wei adored Lu Xiao and wanted her to have a companion. Lu Xiao's entire world starts spinning. Who is he if not a fire orphan? His dad just shakes his head, explaining the orphanage records were extremely incomplete. They only knew he arrived there at age 4, carrying the name Xiao. Qin Yuwei suddenly gasps and drags Lu Xiao all the way back to the old attic. Hidden right beneath a dusty old toy box, she pulls out a faded pink diary. Flipping to a specific page, she points out some childish handwriting to him. The entry says Brother Xiao visited again, and the director called him a stolen little prince. She wrote that he would return home one day, so she wanted to be extra nice to him. That way he would marry her. Lu Xiao stares blankly at those words. His blood completely freezes at those words. A stolen little prince? Qin Yuwei gently places her hand over his, softly asking who he really is. Oh, this is getting crazy. They head down to the old Qin family basement, greeted by a musty smell. Lu Xiao sweeps his flashlight over the dusty clutter, stopping on a strange wall. He taps on the surface. It sounds completely hollow behind the bricks. Pushing past a hidden bookshelf door, they find themselves staring into a secret room. It's a dusty, abandoned children's bedroom. Lu Xiao can feel his head spinning. This room feels strangely familiar to him as Qin Yuwei searches the nightstand. She pulls out a yellowed newspaper with a headline about the Gu Corporation heir disappearing. There is a $10 million reward dated April 1995. That was when he was only 4, and his voice starts shaking at the realization. Qin Yuwei gently brushes her finger over the silver lock in the baby photo. She says she has seen this before and suddenly runs out of the room. Minutes later, she returns with a tin containing an identical silver lock. She chokes up, explaining her mom left it to her as something highly important. He picks up the lock, flips it over, and finds the name Zi'ang engraved. Gu Zi'ang, the name of the sole heir to the massive Gu Empire. Flashlight drops. Everything pieces together. Not an orphan, he's a kidnapped billionaire heir. Qin Yuwei starts to say they need to leave, but glass shatters upstairs. Heavy footsteps surround them. The threat Zhao Jingshan warned them about is officially here. Flashlight out, pitch black. Groping around, he hands her an old baseball bat while grabbing a metal clothes rack.
He tells her to run to the garage on 3, but she grabs his hand. Charging out back to back, they see several shadows tearing the living room apart. Pulling her toward the kitchen, he swings the metal rack and folds a massive thug. Backyard, blocked by 2 more black-clad thugs.
Suddenly, Qin Yuwei sweeps her crutch, shattering one thug's knee with perfect precision.
Talk about built different, she is a karate black belt and glares at him while they retreat.
The garage car is completely trashed, so he helps her climb over the wall.
With her leg injury, he basically has to carry her weight over the top.
He pushes her over into the pitch-black woods behind the old house. Qin Yuwei gasps. Her leg is way past its limit.
She tells him to carry her, and he immediately kneels so she can hop on.
He runs wildly through the trees while she breathes directions directly into his ear.
They slip inside a ruined wooden cabin just as the enemy's searchlights sweep past.
Holding his breath, he can feel Qin Yuwei's heart pounding wildly against his back. Fast and erratic. Who are they? She whispers that they are the original kidnappers.
A chilling theory begins to surface. What if the kidnapping and the fire are connected?
If Qin Yuwei's mother knew too much, then Zhao Jingshan was probably just a pawn.
Footsteps fade. He breathes a sigh of relief. Suddenly, a cold blade presses against his throat. "Don't move," a chilling voice whispers from behind. Young Master Gu Zi'ang.
Qin Yuwei freezes on his back as the man says the boss wants to meet.
As for Miss Qin, what a shame that car crash did not finish you off.
Before he can finish, she slams her head back.
She breaks his nose with her skull, while Gu Zi'ang delivers a brutal elbow.
The dagger clatters down. He grabs her hand to run, but 3 more thugs block the exit. Qin Yuwei suddenly presses keys into his hand, mentioning a spare under the second garage pot.
No way. He realizes her plan instantly, but she shoves him away to call the police.
She throws herself directly at the knife-wielding attacker, and time completely slows down. In that split second, Lu Xiao saw her cane smack the thug's wrist, but her injured leg suddenly buckled, making her stumble. Then he spots a gleaming, deadly dagger thrusting straight toward her chest in the dark. His body moves faster than his brain, and our boy rushes forward to shield her. A sickening, sharp pain explodes in his abdomen as warm blood instantly soaks completely through his shirt. Qin Yuwei's terrified scream pierces the quiet night sky, and everything that follows becomes an absolute nightmare. Leaning heavily against the wall, Lu Xiao watches his girl. She limps around but somehow beats back 3 massive thugs right as police sirens begin to echo nearby. Stumbling over, she desperately presses both hands against his bleeding wound. Massive tears pour down onto his face as she begs him to please hold on and stay with her. She tears off a piece of her clothes to press the wound, crying that he promised he would propose to her all over again.
He wants to smile and tell her he won't, but he only coughs up mouthfuls of blood.
Whispering that he hasn't even bought a ring yet, she shuts him down. Crying like a frightened child, she screams that she only wants him to stay alive. As Lu Xiao's vision begins to fade, her crying face starts to overlap with someone else.
It is the little girl with pigtails from 20 years ago, and with his last bit of strength, he whispers that he finally found her lost music box.
Then darkness takes him completely. He wakes up to the smell of disinfectant and Qin Yuwei's swollen, teary eyes. Her makeup is a complete, messy disaster, but she still looks beautiful enough to break his heart. When he rasps that she looks terrible, she immediately lets out a loud sob and starts crying again.
She gently throws herself onto him, crying that he scared her to death.
He was out cold for 3 full days. Another 10 minutes and he would have been gone forever.
Soon, his dad and grandfather Qin Jianye visit him to deliver the news that the case is officially solved.
The entire kidnapping was planned by the family company's second-in-command to seize power. Zhao Jingshan was just a spy planted inside, and that devastating fire was meant to silence everyone involved. Qin Yuwei's mother was silenced back then simply because she knew far too much about their dark secrets. The DNA test is in, proving Lu Xiao is actually the lost heir Gu Zi'ang. But honestly, looking at the report, our boy does not feel a single ripple in his heart. The grand family name, the status, the endless wealth. None of it compares to the warmth of Qin Yuwei's hand right now. And just then, Bai Lu brings over the newly repaired music box. As the melody of Fur Elise begins to play, the pitch sounds incredibly strange. There is something hidden inside. Sure enough, hidden in a secret compartment, they find another intact recording.
It is the voice of Zhao Jingshan trying to manipulate Qin Jianye, but the old man immediately shuts him down, calling it total nonsense. The recording proves he warned Zhao Jingshan that the kid was safe in an orphanage, and if he dared touch a single hair on Wei Wei's head, he was dead. With the truth out, her father is fully cleared, just a framed scapegoat. A week later, Lu Xiao gets discharged and immediately drags Qin Yuwei to sneak back into the old mansion's backyard. The old swing is still hanging there, and she gently pushes him, asking if he remembers. She laughs, reminding him how he always wanted to swing to the moon. He chuckles, reminding her that she warned him about moon rabbits biting his butt if he did. Now get ready, because right under her completely shocked gaze, he pulls a tiny box from his pocket and drops to one knee. He opens the box, saying that while Gu Zi'ang has a massive $1 trillion empire to inherit, Lu Xiao only wants to ask the lovely Qin Yuwei one life-changing question. But before he can even finish proposing, she screams yes and throws herself straight into his arms. She almost knocks him over, making him laugh that he was not even finished. Pinning him down on the grass, she cries happy tears as she ignores him. 20 years of waiting is finally over as he pulls her close and kisses her deeply. Tasting salty tears mixed with sweetness, our boy pulls a rusty swing keychain from his pocket. He slides the keyring onto our MC's ring finger, demanding the actual ring. Scooping him up, he happily spins him around. All that past pain is basically forgotten now. Fast forward 3 years to the big company gala. Our MC slips into the restroom to text his partner. President Qin, your husband is getting forced to drink. He begs for a rescue. Qin instantly replies, you deserve it. Qin asks why he dressed so flashy to attract attention, leaving our boy grinning at his screen. Honestly, their lock screen is hilarious. Qin wore a wedding dress but insisted on cosplaying Spider-Man. He even kissed him upside down. Anyway, our guy heads back into the party. There's President Qin surrounded by investors. He's rocking a clean, short haircut now. His baby bump is pretty noticeable under that suit. He wraps an arm around him. It's only 8 o'clock. He whispers that the baby wants to hear Spider-Man stories, earning him a quick pinch. Qin mutters that he was the one who wanted to start prenatal education. They happily slip out hand in hand. The wedding ring on his finger and that old swing keychain gently clink together, making a soft, sweet sound. Honestly, this is like the perfect ending to a fairy tale. A classic happy ending, but their version hits a bit different. Just 2 stubborn tsundere rivals who bickered their way into finding the absolute love of their lives.